right, so ready to start? Well, no. Okay, we're back. We're back with our next candidate. If everybody grab their seats, please. We are honored. I'm not sure why you want to run for Congress and go to D.C., but I can't wait to find out why. But we're honored to have the next candidate, Michelle Mortensen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes, my name is Michelle Mortensen. Some of you may know me from my years in television here at Channel 8 as the only consumer advocate in the Valley, where my sole purpose was to solve problems for people every single day, the problems that you couldn't get solved on your own, or that the government wouldn't help with, or the politicians wouldn't help with. So there was a little slogan that was created while I was there: got a problem, tell Michelle, because she gets results, and I'm very honored about that. And it was my pleasure and my honor to serve our community no matter what, and I hope to continue to do that in Washington.
Excellent.
There we go.
So let's start with your TV and all your experience and all that money that you collected back that I heard about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually brought here in 2011 by Channel 8. They had done some research and they had found that the people of Southern Nevada felt no one had their back. You know, y'all just gone through the heart of the recession. 2011 was really when we got hit hard. And they knew that people wanted someone who was going to fight for them. So that's what I was here to do. So one of the very first stories I did actually involved Naked City. I got a phone call on a hotline because I said, you know, I've done consumer before. You definitely need a hotline. And they called and they said, we don't have any electricity in our apartment complex. And at first I was like, I do not believe you. I got to go down there because who doesn't have electricity, right? Well, I get down there and I find out that the apartment complex, there we go. Normally I'm so loud, but I guess today I've got to get closer. I get down there and it was like I was in a third world country. This apartment complex in Naked City, the landlord was stealing electricity from another building, so that's why they didn't have any electricity. They didn't have any running water, and there were kids and families living all over this building. And I was like, this is a hot mess. So I immediately went after the building owner and the landlord, forgive me there. Most of the people in there did not even have leases. They didn't know how to get out and they had no way to go. So I immediately tried to get the city to get involved because code enforcement needed to shut this place down. Couldn't get that to happen. So I went to Councilman Bob Coffin. I'm like, I need your help with this one. Long story short, we ended up getting the building condemned. I ended up getting every single person who lived there a new home or a place to live, new clothing, food, everything they needed. And that's really what kicked things off. It was about meeting a need when no one else could. Because how many times have you had a problem and there's literally no one to turn to? Do you know that I have not been on Channel 8 since November 3rd. I announced my candidacy on November 8th. I still get emails every single day from people saying, I know you're not on TV anymore, but can you help me? I have people from other states who are not even from Nevada who call me and say, can you please help? I had a woman from Colorado say, my daughter moved from Denver to North Carolina. The movers have kept her stuff hostage. I've seen your stuff on the internet. You're the only person who can help me because the government won't. That is a testament to the type of work I do. And yes, I was the first I had this brilliant idea. At the time, I didn't realize it was brilliant. I'm going to keep a log of every dollar I get people back. And it kind of became a trend. And then before you know it, the station was like, wait, you did $100,000? Wait, you did $500,000? And then I reached the $1 million mark. But then all the other networks around the country kind of started copying me, and they created these huge units. Because I was a one-woman show. I didn't have anyone helping me but a band of merry interns. And I loved my interns, and most of them, I still mentor them to this day, and they're working at stations all over the country. And I love that because I truly believe in replicating yourself. If you don't replicate yourself, what good are you? But other stations now do it with these huge call centers, and they all keep track of their money now. But I was actually one of the first to pull out that little idea out of my head.
Michelle, tell us how you really feel.
Okay, I sure will. I don't mince words.
What are your thoughts on the reentry programs?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, so this is something I absolutely love talking about, and let's just talk about Hope for Prisoners for a moment, because Hope for Prisoners, my hope is that is modeled all over and replicated all over this country. Hope for Prisoners has been one of the most impactful organizations we've had in Southern Nevada. What they do is as soon as they get out of prison, they go through this coursework. And once they graduate, did you know that within 7 days, most of them have full-time jobs? I believe the percentage is 74% get full-time jobs. And we're not talking about like measly jobs. We are talking about amazing jobs. And I know there's a ton of laborers here, and I just got to give a shout out to the laborers union because they are hiring a ton of them to build a stadium and other things. And the amazing thing about it is these are good paying jobs, like, $20 an hour and higher jobs, which is phenomenal. The thing I love about it the most, though, is these guys are re-entering society. They are being reformed. We are teaching that there is mercy over judgment, which, glory hallelujah, can we just have a lot more of that? And they're contributing to society. They are actually the fuel that is helping our economy grow, and that is amazing. This is why Hope for Prisoners needs to be modeled all over the country, and I know there are many people in Washington who are hoping we can make that happen.
Excellent. I agree with that. How can you as a congresswoman help Latino businesses in Nevada? I know you want to help all businesses, but I represent a large Latino small business community, and I'd like to know how you as a congresswoman can and will help.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the first things you can do is that you can help eliminate all of the regulations and the bureaucracy and the red tape that kind of holds you back, right? And I am a believer in this. Latino businesses are amazing. And I don't know if you know this statistic. I am going to look down so that I do it right. The State of Latino Entrepreneurship 2015 report showed that between 2007 and 2012, the number of Latino-owned businesses grew by 46.9% compared to just 0.7% for non-Latino-owned businesses. Latino-owned businesses are the fuel of our economy, and they're huge, and that's great, and I love that. So we've got to empower you. But we need to empower you whether you're a Latino business owner, an African-American business owner, and the way you do that is by cutting regulation and the nonsense. Everybody knows I love to tell stories. I was on TV. It's what I did for 18 years. So I always have a story. So this one business, small business owner, they had spray nozzles for spray painting things, right? They forgot to register it. That means fill out a little form with the EPA. So they were fined $100,000. There was nothing wrong with the sprayer. It wasn't non-environmentally friendly. They forgot to fill out a form. $100,000. How is that helping small businesses? How is that helping anyone? Regulation and red tape and that bureaucratic nonsense, that is killing our small businesses, and that's what we've got to get rid of.
Outstanding.
So let's switch over to some minimum wage questions. So there was a movement last session for $15 an hour. Mm-hmm. Here at the chamber, we took a stance that, we want higher wages for everybody, right? But it's got to be done responsibly, and certainly the small business community needs to be at the table discussing how impactful that'll be for them, right?
Amen.
How do you feel about the $15 an hour movement? By the way, the $15 an hour movement has backfired in Seattle big time. It's too much to get any more government assistance, but not enough to live on. And so you know the scenario. So I'm just wondering, how do you feel about this movement?
Absolutely. We all want to make more money, and we all want a higher wage. I'm going to blow your minds here for a minute, because I know everyone thinks in TV that we are just making bank like nobody's business. My first job in TV, I made a whopping $9,000 a year. Yeah. I have 2 degrees. And my first job in TV, I made $9,000 a year. So trust me, I understand that we all want to make more money. Here's the problem with making a federal minimum wage, in my opinion. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. $15 an hour there, a little bit different than in Tonopah. A little bit different than in a city in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. It's a little bit different. So you can't, whenever you try to get a perfect fit, one size fits all. Have you ever bought a one size fits all shirt? Does it really fit everyone? Nope. So there isn't a one size fits all answer. I don't even think my jokes are that good, but I feel like I'm slaying here today. You can't have a one-size-fits-all answer. The key is you definitely want to have higher paying jobs. No one wants to stay at a minimum wage job forever. We all want to have that type of growth. So the lesson you've learned here today is don't go into TV news if you want that to happen, because you could get paid doing anything and make a ton more money. But we want to empower the businesses so that they can do more. I mean, that's one of the things that I feel like tax reform has done. I'm a big believer in tax reform, not just because it's trendy to say that now, but if you look at history, and I'm one of those history people, you look at what Kennedy did in the 1960s, who was a Democrat, you look at what Reagan did in the 1980s, who was a Republican. Tax reform has always brought growth. It's always gotten more money in your paychecks, and it's always helped businesses thrive so that they can hire more people. I know everyone loves to say trickle-down economics, Keynesian theory, it doesn't work, but there's actually historical proof that it does.
When will we get immigration reform in this country? I mean, it's constantly a strategy of politics, but for us, it's people's lives.
Absolutely.
And so, you're a congresswoman. If you win, what are you going to do?
You know, I think the number one way to get immigration reform is we've got to get Congress to quit pivoting and punting and do their job. I know it's really hard to take a stand. I know it's really hard to speak your mind. I know it's like, what if somebody doesn't like that? But you know what? We've had years to tackle this issue. Years. And no one ever wants to tackle it. And that's a shame. That is an absolute crying shame. We've had de facto amnesty for years. We've had plenty of opportunity to do it. And if you're a TV person or you love to go back at history, just go look back and see how a lot of senators and congressmen and career politicians who've been in office for a very long time have responded to immigration. And you will have shock and awe when you see the flip-flop that we get from them. One of the things that frustrates me about Congress, and this is why I'm actually getting involved, I'm tired of the dysfunction. I'm tired of the Band-Aid. I'm tired of like, hey, let's just talk about it for 2 minutes until we get distracted. And look over there, shiny thing. Now we're going to talk about something different now. That isn't helping anyone. It certainly isn't helping the American people. I want immigration reform more than anything, and I want it to be compassionate reform that is beneficial for all Americans, that keeps the American dream alive and well. That is absolutely imperative. I don't know why it has been so hard for Congress to get together and try to do the right thing for the American people. But that's one of the problems with having entitled career politicians who care too much about the power that they've attained than serving the actual people they represent.
What is passion?
She has passion?
I got that.
So what is your position on, again, going back to education, ESAs, homeschooling, choice, charter school, throwing everything on the table, or how do you feel?
Okay, so I'm a mom. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 6-year-old. And so I haven't been a mom a very long time. And you just assume, I think when you're a mom, like your kids are going to be exactly like you, right? I mean, you don't know. And then you get them into preschool. And I realized that my 6-year-old, when she got into preschool, this girl was on it. I was like, oh my gosh, I got a gifted child. She's reading and she's 3, you know, this is amazing. My 3-year-old's in preschool now, my youngest, she's nothing like Greer. It is night and day difference. They learn differently, they function differently, a different timeline. I can tell you this, no one's going to know better how to educate my children than me. Now that doesn't mean that I'm an educator and I know how to educate them and I need to be homeschooling my kids because, oh my God, they'd be doomed. And I don't, but I know what's best for them. So I'm a big believer in school choice. I loved ESAs. I was a supporter of ESAs. I signed up to be a part of ESAs. I think school choice is amazing. And I hate that we don't have more choice because once again, we'll go back to that one-size-fits-all analogy. It doesn't fit all. And I don't see why there is such a backlash to choice and the empowerment of parents, because that's my number one concern as a parent, that I am advocating for my child and that I'm making sure that they are getting the very best that they need. And like I said, my kids are very little, so I don't even know what's to come in the education process. We just did our first science fair, and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like in 3rd grade. It's going to be so much more intense. But I believe in choice.
Let's switch over to healthcare a little bit, because obviously in Congress, that's a big deal. Do you support Obamacare? And if not, what is a better alternative?
I am not a fan of Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act because it is affordable in name only. And so much of the jargon and language that we were promised has not actually come to pass. We don't even need to talk about the number of co-ops that have just disintegrated. Some regions in our state only have the option of one insurance provider.
Well, for example, the Latin Chamber used to be able to offer health care to its members. That went away, and that kind of hurt us big time.
Absolutely. So I no longer work at the station, so I'm unemployed. We had to go and get on Obamacare as well. And because my husband is self-employed, he doesn't have a business where he could, get insurance that way. It's so expensive. It's so expensive. Cobra was expensive too. Like, it's all so expensive. So it's not terribly affordable. This is the thing that really hurts me though. We're often told that the expansion of Medicaid was a good thing and that it's providing for more people. Well, my experience is that actually hasn't been true, because the very people who need it are the ones who are denied. I often tell the story of a little boy who I was helping, who was on Medicaid, who had no limbs, and he desperately needed a wheelchair. And Medicaid denied him not once, not twice, but 6 times, and would not provide a little boy who needed a wheelchair. How else was he going to get around? But they just couldn't afford it. See, that's the problem. We can't send this message out that Medicaid for All is great and it's providing and it's meeting all the needs when it's not meeting all the needs. So don't tell me it's working when I have story after story after story after story of how it's broken. There was a 16-year-old child who I was helping, and I didn't put this one on the air because I was like, I do not want to take credit for this, and I don't want anyone to think I can do miracles. But he needed a surgery desperately. And the children's hospital in town and the doctor, they refused because he was on Medicaid. And they said, we can't afford it. You're going to have to pay cash for this one. You're asking this family to pay cash for this sucker? I started talking to the hospital and the doctors and all of that stuff. And I realized that this whole Medicaid problem is a hot mess that I don't think any of us have really understood. And eventually they all agreed to just give the child the life-saving surgery that he needed. And that was great. I just didn't want people to think I did anything awesome to make that happen and take credit for something that I didn't really have anything to do with. But it opened my eyes. There were people who needed life-saving medication who couldn't get it because the hospitals, the doctors, the pharmaceutical companies, and the insurance companies couldn't all get along and agree to give someone. So you're calling a girl at a TV station to go get you your medicine? Yeah, but that's what people did because I was the only one who could break through all that bureaucratic red tape. That is ridiculous. So I don't say, I'm not going to be, any politician that sits here and goes, I have the solution, and this is what we need to do. Guess what they're doing to you? They're lying to you, because this is too big of a problem to say, hey, here's the solution, and this is a Band-Aid. That's politics. That's a 5-second soundbite. That's trying to make them look good on TV. This is a complex problem, and if you don't treat it like a complex problem, then we're all going to be in a lot of trouble. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of analysis, and it's not going to be a quick fix. No matter how badly you want it to be a quick fix, it's not going to come quickly.
What do you plan on doing on increasing and bringing jobs to Nevada as a congresswoman?
Well, any politician who says that they're going to create jobs is lying to you, because politicians don't create jobs, businesses create jobs. But what politicians can do is they can open up the opportunity for more businesses to come so that more businesses can hire and more businesses can do great things. And that's really what politicians do, because politicians themselves don't create those jobs. We might have an infrastructure project that we put into place that brings in a lot of jobs. We might do tax reform and other things that bring in opportunities for more businesses to come here and grow. But that's really how I think you've got to have that hand-in-hand partnership where, part of being a consumer advocate my whole life, and this is what I even believe in when I go to Congress, I want to have a my office, I want it to be a consumer advocacy office where consumers can come to me all the time, whether you're a veteran, a business owner, I don't care. If you've got a problem, I actually do know how to solve problems. I've spent my entire life solving these problems. I need to replicate myself to make sure that we get that done. But how you solve problems with bringing jobs is creating legislation or cutting, maybe not doing as much legislation, cutting that regulation and providing those opportunities.
How important would it be to get the Latin Chamber endorsement?
Some people love to tout their endorsements, and they're usually from people that you never heard of before, and you're like, oh, okay, great job. The biggest endorsement that matters, of course, is the endorsement of the people on Election Day, but the Latin Chamber endorsement is a group of people. And so getting this endorsement means everything, because it's an honor and a privilege, because if the people say, you know what, that gal, she's listening to us, she's going to represent, she's going to serve us, that's an honor, and that's a privilege. I don't use them as a badge of honor, like, look, I'm cool and impressive. No, because that's not it. I'm only as good as my word, and I'm only as good if I follow through and absolutely do what I say. And I've always tried to fight for the Latin, I'll just end with this. I've always tried to fight for the Latin community in ways that other people couldn't. And a lot of people don't know this story, so I'll just share it really quickly if you're cool with that.
Of course.
So when I worked at Channel 8, I had a large group of people who were desperately trying to become citizens of this country. And they unfortunately partnered with a man who promised that he was going to make a way for them. And these 25 people gave this guy so much money. So much money. And it was all scam. And these people who had waited 20 plus years to become a citizen basically just got completely ripped off. And they came to me thinking I could do something. I knew it was bigger than me, and I actually gave it over to the AG. And the AG's office, I spent 3 years investigating it, and that guy did get prosecuted. But that's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that those people, they came to me because they were too afraid to go to anyone else. And they didn't want to go to me for the longest time. I did this whole roundtable where I talked with them on camera, and that was like pulling teeth because they were so afraid. That's awful. That is awful. We have to create lines of communication. We have to be willing to listen. We have to get rid of the fraudsters. We have to get rid of the scammers. We have to get rid of all this nonsense that's really hurting our society. And so, I just want to be able to help more people like that. And the Latin community is someone who I've always tried to help. I'm sure I haven't done enough. It would be, and I can always do more. But I want to work hand in hand. I want to work hand in hand with everyone because it's about unity. We always say united we stand, divided we fall, and I absolutely believe that. But it's not just about unity where we all agree and sing kumbaya and hold hands and we're like, yes, we're all see eye to eye. No, some of it's about community. Unity and community are kind of the same thing, because when you're a community, you might be different races, you might be different religions, you might be different orientations, and none of that matters because you're community. And when you have community, you're willing to work with your brother, you're willing to help your sister, and you don't have these arbitrary divides and these divisions that really hurt us and don't help us.
Last question, how do you feel about the Raiders?
Okay. So I did grow up in the Bay Area, I mentioned that, right?
You're not going to talk about the 49ers, are you?
So, like Steve Young and Joe Montana, they were like everything, right? But I have since changed. And now, I never would have said that living back home. I'm now with the Raiders. And I'm actually, I'm pretty excited about it. It's pretty cool. The sports things that are happening in this town, I'll be honest with you, when I was a journalist, I was like, I don't know about all these sports things. I don't know if it's going to work. Because typical cynical, snarky journalist, right? That's who we are. I have been pleasantly surprised, and hockey has blown my mind. I still don't understand 1 ounce of it. I do not get it at all, but I'm super excited about it, and people love it, and we are filling that stadium, and it's amazing. I can't wait to see what happens with football, and I can't wait till we have our first Super Bowl. You know that's going to be tight, right?
It's going to be big. It's coming too.
I know.
Well, I think we know that she's passionate. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
I was going to ask her a question.
Okay, go ahead, ask her.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, okay.
Otto, of course, has a question. I love it.
Why are you a Republican?
Why am I a Republican?
Yes.
My question exactly, Otto.
Because I believe in Republican idea. I've always been a Republican. I grew up thinking that Ronald Reagan was
The greatest.
and I absolutely adored him. I was a little kid, and I remember reading in my weekly reader, like in 3rd grade, and they tried to teach us what the word glasnost meant, and I was like, I don't know, but I knew that Ronald Reagan was going to protect us and keep us safe, and I really am. I am a fiscal conservative, and I am a Christian. I am a Christian conservative. I'm married to a pastor. My belief system is conservative. I have conservative values. I guess the one thing, and I have conservative values, and I believe that all Republicans really are a lot like me. We've just, let me go to take a dig on the media here. The media has made us look like we are not compassionate people, or that we're hateful people, or that we're all rich, or something like that. And it's just simply not the case. My dad was a janitor. He was unemployed, and then the pastor of our church, right when I was born, said, let's do some janitorial work. And he was a janitor that turned into a janitorial business. And we've been Republicans our whole lives. I I think people just don't have the right understanding of who and what Republicans are, and I really hope to change that because the conservative movement is not a bad thing. Conservative values are a good thing.
Excellent. Let's all take photos with Michelle. Come on. That was great. Thanks everyone for coming. Next month we'll have some more candidates. Please come. Take photos.